Hello and welcome to TelecomTV. We're here at Mobile World Congress 2015 in Barcelona in Spain. I'm talking with Michael Park, who is the VP and General Manager, Mobility Solutions Business Unit, or Global Business Unit, Personal Systems at HP. Quite a job title. Michael, welcome.
Pleasure to be here.
It is evident from people watching this that we're at a show. We're at Mobile World Congress 2015. There's a big stand behind us, there's big stands everywhere. It's day 3, late afternoon, and it's busy. And they reckon there's going to be perhaps 100,000 people, delegates, visitors here this year. There were about 75,000 plus last year. So that it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. This is Hall 3. There's a lot going on in here. And sometimes there are brass bands and rock concerts going on at the same time. So that might happen while we're talking. If it does, we'll just have to carry on.
Okay.
Well, hopefully though, we'll get through this segment without that happening. I don't think it's due, it's the Innovation City over there, and every now and again they just strike up the band. Anyway, here we go. Thanks for talking to us, pleasure to meet you. Do you think that customers' expectations are evolving when it comes to mobility? Where do you see their needs going to in terms of the form factor of the device, the experience they get, and the usage they make of it?
Yeah, very much so. So, I mean, in the domain of mobility, what we've seen is a very similar pattern to the internet era of '99. So in the internet era of '99, you sort of had this capability happening in consumer around AOL and Alta Vista and Netscape that brought all these consumers into a new paradigm for how to work with technology. And then after that reached a point of maturity, you saw commercial businesses take that technology and bring it into the back end. And the next 10 years was all about transforming from client-server technology to internet-based technology.
Absolutely.
And right now what we're seeing is the exact same thing. The last 5 to 7 years, you've seen this massive surge of people moving off of PCs to tablets and smartphones for content consumption as they're working everywhere now. And that's driving the end user experience, the devices, everything all the way to the data center and how they support that. So when we look forward in the devices for commercial, what we see now is we're seeing the very early stages, even at Mobile World Congress here, of the dialogue shifting from just focusing on BYOD and the consumer to how do you really take this now into true business workloads where people have to do work with it every day on one dimension, but also are balancing that with what they do at home every day. So the unification of work and home is certainly happening, and absolutely the transformation of mobile devices in the workplace around commercial workloads is starting to change and shift as well.
That has implications obviously for security, which we can come to in a moment.
Absolutely.
But talking about this consolidation, this blurring of the world of work and your home life and leisure, it's obviously also having a profound effect on mobility and devices. When we talk about consumers wanting something, it seems to me that want isn't necessarily well articulated or defined. They just know they want something different.
Yes.
Do they lead you, or do you lead them?
Well, it's a little bit of both, because it really depends on who your customer is that you're serving.
Sure.
The consumer model largely is driven off the content on the device in terms of what they do in their personal lives for entertainment. And work has always been this intermediary in many ways where it changes when you go.
Sure.
But what's happening now is the preference and convenience of consumer is coming in and changing the demands of how IT needs to deliver the work. So when it comes to using the devices for work, as we look at new workloads that are transforming, what's happening is all these desktop apps that people have been working with for years and years and years now need to transform to mobile devices. But you have to actually think about the design of the device as well as how that application is going to run. So as an example, as an executive, you can use an iPad as a content consumption device to read your emails in conjunction to a PC.
Yep.
But if you're a task worker in a hospital administering care to a patient, or you're in an oil field delivering service to a piece of equipment, you're not going to use an iPad.
No.
Right? And
well,
that's our
long.
approach. Right. So our approach is, as those applications move off the desktop, we're going to work with partners to build the right applications on the mobile device, but design the mobile device also very specifically for the use case. So we have tablets that are rugged that can be used in the oil wells and oil fields that are waterproof. The healthcare tablet we have is certified to be brought into an operating room And that kind of capability in bringing the software and the hardware together, to your point, in a secure and manageable way, we think creates a unique opportunity for HP and the solutions we deliver to our customers.
Two interesting points you brought up there. First of all, is the notion of partnerships and collaboration. Think back a few years, you talked about Alta Vista in those days, how that brings memories back. But think about the fact that hitherto, and until very recently, no one in the mobile sector would have dreamed of really partnering or collaborating with someone who might be an arch rival. So something's changing there. What is causing that? Is it because one company can no longer do everything, or is it because the expertise is greater in some areas than in others?
It's actually a little of both, because what's happening if you look at our customer base, particularly in the commercial domain, is that our customers in commercial are IT. And their IT budgets, in terms of what they need to do today relative to the budgets they have, continues to shrink.
Right.
Yet when you look at the technology, like look at mobility, everything you said, NFV, storage, virtualization, endpoint computing, tablets versus phablets versus wearables.
Yeah.
On the same budget, they have to figure out how to deliver all that. And so they don't have the ability to go one-to-one with every single vendor. So they are forcing the industry to say, give me one throat to choke, help me assemble these things in a way just like I do at home, the experience is integrated. And so in order to do that, you have to have very strong strategic partnerships with the partners that matter for the use case that you're trying to deliver to your customers.
Okay, you also mentioned bring your own device. As IT in the enterprise melds with telecoms, security and privacy to some extent, but certainly security, is paramount. Again, how do you efficiently provide sufficient security so that an enterprise can be sure that its data is safe on devices that may not be nothing to do with the enterprise itself?
Yeah, and that here then really lies the challenge with respect to security in general. Is security runs from the silicon of the device all the way up to the cloud, back into the data center. And so when you talk about it, the complexity of every layer you have to cut has to be seamlessly connected in order to close the environment and secure it. So we've got the great partnerships with all the data center guys that in HP and the work that they do in the back end.
Yeah.
And then the networking guys are doing a great job. And our job is to secure the endpoints. And so on the commercial devices we build specific capabilities to secure those for the corporate owned devices we have. And then with BYOD, we really look at two segments of the market, the enterprise and then the SMB. In the enterprise, we have partnerships with both ES as well as the traditional MDM players who secure those BYOD devices, AirWatch, Mobile Iron, companies like that, Microsoft.
Yeah.
And what we do is we integrate that capability with the classic PC management in partnership to make it easier for the customers. In SMB, we see a great opportunity to build an HP proprietary service that can help SMBs who don't have a lot of technology consume it in a super simple way, because they don't have the resources and expertise that enterprises do.
Right.
So we take our enterprise knowledge, package that into something super simple, and then put that into a cloud service that allows them to very easily sign up any kind of device, HP, Dell, Lenovo, etc., or iOS, Android, or Microsoft. And we feel by delivering that capability to the SMB, HP also brings the power of our enterprise class knowledge in an affordable, simple way that our resellers can deliver to the market as well.
Okay, thank you. We've talked about user experience and expectations. We talked about the increasing usage and the different uses. What about the form factors of the devices themselves? People were surprised when tablets came out. People are surprised how big phablets are getting. What is the form factor of the future, or will there be several that will be basically interchangeable for different situations, different places of work?
Yeah, we definitely, we orient our designs in thinking about the user experience and what they do every day. So as an example, the healthcare tablet we just developed, we were doing that in partnership with Cerner Corp.
Right.
And we got feedback from them about the productivity of a nurse bringing a cart with a PC on it into the room, and the time to her productivity by the time she's delivering patient care. And the design of the tablet led us to the point where there's a smart card reader in it, there's a scanner that reads the patient barcode, so right from when she enters the room to the time that she or he is delivering care to the patient, we can cut the time of administration in half. And if you multiply that by 20 visits a day times 500 nurses in a hospital, the effect is dramatic in productivity.
Yeah.
So we are actually looking at the devices and saying, tablets, phablets, in the future wearables, how does the continuum of all these types of things actually help create better forms of productivity? Today they require hands. We believe in the future that will still be the case, but there will also be many workloads where we can actually deliver wearables or phablets or a conjunction of several things working together to allow the task worker to work with both hands while being augmented with information to help them be more productive. So I think it depends on all the scenarios, but that's the key point, right?
Yeah.
As we design great solutions, we have to know who our audience is, we have to be very focused on the union of the software, the device, the services, so that we can actually deliver that experience in a super simple way for IT to deliver for them.
So it's sort of horses for courses, or different strokes for different folks.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can see that working well. What about the biggest growth segments in commercial mobility, Michael? Is there one area that's going gangbusters above everything else, or do you think this growth is going to be in several areas simultaneously?
I think that what we saw with BYOD, the growth that we saw with consumerization coming in is now slowing down. And I think the trend in commercial is going to be business workloads, like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
They're moving off that desktop to a mobile device. And I think, again, those workloads are going to be by industry. And so our whole strategy in HP for mobility around commercial is orienting to the commercial workloads, partnering with the application providers who build those workloads, and then making great experiences between those workload apps and the device to help the users.
So even though the trend for big data is becoming more and more horizontal, we're still going to have vertical sectors within that which will relate to oil or gas or to medicine or to whatever it may be.
Right, which is in many cases a self-fulfilling enabler for big data, because as you get more specific on the application and the device to help somebody do a job better, as the data comes into that, the analytics behind that particular workload become more relevant from a big data standpoint.
Right.
So one feeds the other if you get the user experience right.
I get it. Final question to you, this is a bit more off the wall, which is, look, every year we have this show in Barcelona. Every year there's a trend or several trends that are going on within it. We know what they are, we've discussed them so far. But things are changing so fast now, you can scarcely see here beyond a year, 18 months or so. I'm going to ask you to go a bit further out than that. I know that Hewlett-Packard thinks 3 years ahead. So where do you see mobile computing in 2018? What's next in this space?
Yeah. I don't think it's about a new technology, because I mean the technology is going to always be changing and advancing, and things are getting smaller and cheaper all the time, so it'll show up everywhere, and you can see it out here. I mean, we're going to be wearing clothes with Internet of Things and sensors all over it now, and the analytics will support it. The thing that's really going to change in the next 3 years around mobility is the ability to rapidly consume the technology and employ it for faster time to value. Because if you look at the past in the enterprise, the way that you actually employed new technology was sort of like a heart transplant. You know, you go engineer what the thing needs to look like, you spend years and years and years designing it, and then the first time it's out, everybody's not excited because it took too long and it's not meeting the full feature you set out to achieve.
Right.
And so the future is about how can you deliver relevance of the user experience at speed and agility and affordability. And I think a lot of the things happening in cloud, a lot of the things happening in thinking about the software layer, the hardware layer, the services layer in pre-integrated form to actually speed deployment, speed time to value, speed iteration, that's what the world is really, I think, going to look like 3 years from now.
Well, if we're still around to see it, I'll look forward to seeing it. Until then, Michael Park, thank you very much indeed. Very interesting stuff.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.